Cooper, why didn't he come that night?
Trevor Summers did not release him to come to my house.
So you had Arden, Brennan Grady, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you are being tied down to the bed, are you fighting back, struggling at that time, or what were you doing?
As much as I could fight back, I did. As much as I could try to get loose, I did. But at some point, I came to the realization of my situation. I am stuck. I'm tied to this bed. I'm not getting out.
Okay. And you had briefly stated there was an injunction in place prior to March 10th of 2017. Is that correct?
Yes.
May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Ms. Matthewson, I'm showing you what's been identified as State's Exhibit AA for identification purposes.
I'm sorry, did you say AA?
AA. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is it a fair and accurate copy of the temporary injunction that was in place on March 10th of 2017?
Yes.
State offers into evidence State's Exhibit AA.
Oh, I'm sorry. Objection. I'm sorry, you have an objection?
No, I do not.
I'm not hesitating to be admitted, but on the exhibit list, I don't see an AA. I see an A1, an A2, and A3.
It's on the second page, Judge.
Oh, okay.
We go through the whole alphabet, and then we got to start over.
Not a problem. All right, so it states AA, and it will be admitted at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I see it.
Permission to publish, Judge?
You may publish it to the jury.
Ms. Matthewson, this is the first page of that document, and it lists you as the petitioner versus Trevor Summers as the respondent. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's for a temporary injunction for protection against domestic violence with minor children.
Yes.
And there was a hearing date that was scheduled for March 7th of 2017, which was prior to the March 10th, 2017. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did that hearing date get continued?
I sent my attorney. I didn't go to that hearing.
Okay. Did you receive a new date?
Yes.
And when was that new date scheduled for?
It was scheduled for the week of March 13th, someday that week. I believe it was the 15th, possibly.
Okay. Do you know if the continuance was made by the defendant or by his attorney on his behalf?
Yes.
Did you ask that this March 7th date get moved?
No.
The temporary injunction, even though the hearing date for whether or not a permanent injunction is going to be granted, did not affect this temporary injunction. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
So on March 10th, March 11th, March 12th, March 13th of 2017, this injunction was still binding, was still effective.
Correct.
Showing you publishing the last page, which shows a document filed February 22nd of 2017 at 3:59 p.m. It shows that Trevor Summers, the respondent, was identified via Florida DL and was served with this document. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall the date in which you sought your petition for the injunction?
it was a holiday that Monday, so I had to go in on that Tuesday. It would be the 21st, February 21st would have been that Tuesday.
And showing you the second to last page of this document where Judge Gabbard signed this on February 21st of 2017 at 6:38:22 p.m. So the day before Trevor Summers was served with this document, correct?
Correct.
We're going to go into why you sought this injunction. Judge, maybe you approach for a moment.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a brief instruction for you at this time. I don't need the microphone. The evidence that you are about to receive concerning other crimes, wrongs, or acts allegedly committed by the defendant will be considered by you for the limited purpose of proving motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, the absence of mistake or accident, and to corroborate the testimony of Alisa Summers, and you shall consider it only as it relates to those issues. However, the defendant is not on trial for a crime, wrong, or act that is not included in the information. You may proceed.
Ms. Matthewson. Yes. You got an injunction on February 21st of 2017.
Correct.
Why did you get an injunction on that date?
Because Trevor Summers held me against my will at knife point on February 18th
Of 2017?
of 2017.
So we're going to talk about that incident for a little bit. How is it that you came to be in contact with the defendant on February 18th of 2017?
He contacted me and wanted to do a marriage settlement agreement. He was being extremely kind to me. We were trying to, I thought we were being an amicable divorce, which is what I had wanted. I had wanted to be able to co-parent for the kids. And he was being very nice, was agreeing that the marriage was over, was agreeing to get me a marriage settlement agreement, and asked me to come to his home where he would have a notary.
Was that at the Newberry Grove Loop?
Yes.
Did you agree to go to his home on that date to discuss the final divorce and marriage settlement?
Yes.
And do you recall approximately when you went there on that date?
Around lunchtime?
And when you got there, were the children there?
No.
And what happened when you arrived at that Newberry Grove Loop?
The notary was not there, but he said that she would be coming soon, and that he wanted to talk to me first. He wanted to basically go over all the faults in the marriage, the mistakes that he had made, and said that he was accepting that the marriage was over, and that he had already prepared the marriage settlement agreement, but asked me if I would have sex with him one last time in our marriage.
And you had been married for 16 years and had 5 children together, is that correct?
Correct.
So is that something that you did agree to?
I did.
Was that sex consensual?
Yes.
And so what happened after that?
The notary came and we sat with the notary. We had the forms notarized.
Was everything in the agreement, everything he had told you that he was going to do?
Yes.
And what were those things? You said he was being very nice.
He was 50-50 custody of the children, child support and alimony, and just an agreement of splitting holidays and things along those lines.
And was he going to provide you a check on that day?
Yes.
What was that check going to be in the
It was
amount?
$25,000, and I believe a second check for the first week of child support.
And so the notary came. Did all the documents get signed and notarized?
Yes.
What happened next?
He asked me if I would stay and have a drink with him.
And did you do that?
I did.
What did you have to drink?
I had a martini.
Does the defendant drink alcohol?
Yes, I believe he had like a scotch or a whiskey, something along those lines.
Okay. And is there any more conversation that takes place on that day?
No, just that we were going to be friends, that we were going to be able to move forward for the kids, and that, you know, it seemed like we were just going to have a nice friendship.
Did you then leave after that?
I didn't. He said, well, now that we have signed this agreement and it's notarized, it's kind of like we're not married now. Can we have sex again? And I did.
And that was consensual?
Yes.
After the sex, did you leave at that point?
He had made something to eat. I ate with him, and then I said, I really have to get home to the children. I need to leave. I went out the front door, and he said, oh, I almost forgot I have something else for you. And we went back inside, and I followed him in to the house and followed him into the master bedroom.
What happened when you got into the master bedroom?
It's a hallway, and he went through the hallway and turned into, he normally keeps his safe and things in the closet, so he went into the closet.
Is that closet within the master bedroom?
It is, and the door of the closet faces the master bed, and he turned into the closet and turned back and pushed me down onto the bed and pulled a knife out from between the mattress and the box spring, and he held a machete at my chest.
What happened at that point?
He opened the end table, and there was rope and duct tape, and he told me if I cooperated, he would not tie me up, and he would not use the rope or the duct tape.
And what did he mean by cooperate? Did you know at that point?
He told me that he was not okay with the divorce, that what I had done and destroyed the family, that he was not going to take this, and that I was going to stay and listen to him.
Were you able to leave at that point?
No.
What took place after that?
I was held for a few hours and just sat on the bed, stayed still, stayed calm, spoke to him, told him that I understood how he was upset, and that if he let me go, that we would forget about this and that nothing would happen. Just let me go.
Why did you stay calm and try to convince him to let you go?
Because I figured I'd be able to talk my way out of it, and he would let me go. Like, he made a mistake and just let me go.
Did he let you go?
Yes, eventually I was able to talk him down, calm him down, and I got into my car and left.
And prior to him letting you leave, did you promise him that you were not going to call the police?
I did.
once you left, did you in fact call the police?
As soon as I pulled out of his driveway.
And did you, after that, is that when you ultimately sought the injunction?
Yes.
And so you had described that your relationship then in March of 2017, that you two were not speaking.
No, we were not.
You did not go to his house to pick up the children. It was at a public area.
Correct.
So we're going to go back to talking about, we're in the early morning hours, early afternoon of March 11th of 2017. You were tied down to the bed. What is happening at this point? You're tied up and you're tied to the bed. What does he remain in the bedroom?
So this is, I got first tied up about approximately 6 a.m. on that Saturday morning. After he used the Christmas lights to tie me to the bed rails, he went and got the vacuum and brought the vacuum in and used the vacuum cord to go underneath the mattress and wrap around to strap me more down.
Is any conversation happening when this is, and what is his demeanor?
He, at this point, does remove the sock and the scarf from my mouth, and his demeanor was that he's been upset about the divorce, that he is getting a boat and going out and disappearing and getting out in international water. So that's as soon as he removes it from me, I ask, where are the children? Where are the kids at? I'm tied to the bed. You've just removed the sock and the scarf from my mouth, and I want to know where my children are. That is the first conversation.
And so what did he tell you about where the children were?
He told me that his parents drove from Riverview up to Valrico and came in and collected the children.
And so was the first time that you learned how the children left, was it at that time, or was it when shortly after the children had walked out of the home?
It was at that time.
Okay. And so when he had told you that his parents had come and gotten the children, did you have any reason to believe anything else, or that they got home any other way?
No.
Does he put the sock back in your mouth at this point?
No, because I was having some problems breathing. I had been trying to breathe through my mouth. I had some congestion, and I just asked him, like, I'm not going to scream, just... And so he did not put the sock back in my mouth.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought for a moment. When you discuss that he is upset about the divorce and that the marriage is ending, was he aware that you were moving on romantically in your life?
Yes.
And how were you doing that?
I had met someone. I had met Jeff Matthewson, who is now my husband, but at the time we had just met.
And were you dating?
We were friends. We were both interested in dating, but due to the circumstances, we had decided that we were going to be friends. And he was, very nice and kind and looking out for me.
Were you dating? Had you dated prior to meeting Jeffrey Matthewson?
I went on one date, and then there was one guy that came and set up a fire stick on my TV, and that was it.
Was that a date, or was that someone who?
It wasn't nothing. I didn't consider it a date.
Okay. When did the defendant had problems with the fact that you were moving on from him.
Yes, in our marriage, I was never allowed to speak to a man or have men on my Facebook or have anything to do unless it was supervised.
That was the kind of marriage relationship that you had with the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. So briefly, after he had taken the sock out, you had asked about the children. You had started to say that he was talking about a boat. Can you explain what the defendant told you about this boat?
Yes, he started telling me that he was going to disappear. He was getting a boat to international water. He had chartered this boat that was going to take him out of the country, basically no papers, no questions asked, and that he would be leaving approximately at 9 a.m. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to wait out.
At 9 a.m., meaning the morning of March 11th?
Correct.
Okay, so this is shortly after, you're having this conversation shortly after the children leave the home.
Correct. So approximately to me, it's like, okay, 3 hours, and I'm going to be fine in 3 hours.
Because you're thinking back to what happened on February 18th. It's going to be done.
Correct.
Okay. So, what happens during that? Once he tells you that, and you're thinking, all right, I'm just going to have to get through 3 hours. Did he say what was going to happen when he was going to go get on this boat at 9 a.m.? What was going to happen to you?
Not at this point.
Okay. Do you question him any more about this?
No, he was just in and out of the room, and I was just staying calm and buying my time.
Did you have any reason to believe that what he was saying about this boat was fake, made up, not real?
No.
So, do you remain tied up on the bed there?
Yes.
Okay. And where does the defendant, does he remain there in the bedroom or go elsewhere?
He was in and out.
And when he would be in and out, did you know where he would go?
No.
How long would he be gone from your bedroom?
Maybe 30 minutes and come back in and sit on the edge of the bed and talk some more and then go out of the room and do whatever he was doing.
Did you know whether or not he remained at the home when he would leave the bedroom or if he left the home?
No.
You had said that your hands were tied, you were tied down to the bed, and they were tied to the bed frame, and you were tied underneath the mattress. So, were you able to get out of that at all when he would leave for these periods of time?
No.
Did you try?
I tried.
At some point, does he come back in?
Yes.
Are there conversations that are taking place during this time?
It was a lot of kind of rambling type conversations. He would just talk about just random things about money in offshore accounts, and he's got this boat, and he's going to the island.
Okay. What's the next thing that happens that you remember?
So 9 o'clock came and went, and approximately 10 o'clock, he comes in and says, there's no more boats running. They only run them at nighttime. I'm going to be here until night comes, and then I'm going to go.
When he comes in and says this, is this something that he is upset about?
Yes.
Or what is his demeanor?
Yes, he seems that he's upset. He missed the boat. He missed the timelines, and now he's got to wait all day here in my house, and I'm feel deflated as well because now I'm in this situation until nighttime.
Is there any conversation that takes place? Anything else during this time?
No, he started to undo all of the things that had me tied to the bed, undo even the scarves, and completely untied me
Did you ask him to untie you, or is that something he did on his own?
He just started untying me.
Did you question him, like, why are you untying me? Anything like that?
No.
What happened next once he untied you?
He started to remove my bottoms and proceeded to have sex with me.
Was that with your consent, that sex?
No.
Did you tell him no?
No.
Did you fight back?
No.
Why is it that you did not tell him no or fight back?
Because I didn't want to get hurt.
Was that your fear at that point based upon everything that had happened up to that point?
Yes.
Did you say anything to him?
No.
Did he say anything to you, or did he just remove your bottoms?
Just removed my bottoms.
What was going through your head at that time?
Just need to get through this day. I'll just get through this day.
When you say that you had sex, what body part of his touched your body part?
His penis into my vagina.
What happened when the sex was over with?
I was now untied. I was able to get up and put my bottoms on.
Was it the same bottoms that you had worn prior to him taking them off?
Yes.
Were you wearing underwear?
Yes. At this point, he is staying right on top of me, not allowing me to have kind of free range of things. So he is just his body like right up against my body. And I asked him if I could go have a cigarette.
Were you a smoker?
I smoke when I'm a lot of stress. So I, with the divorce and things, I had picked it up and said, I'll quit when things settle back down.
Did you smoke in your home?
No.
When you would smoke before this March 11th incident began happening, where would you typically smoke?
The front door, there was a chair, and there was a little bucket, and I would put the cigarette butts there and sit in that chair.
Did he allow you to smoke in the front of the house on March 11th of 2017?
No.
Where did the defendant allow you to smoke?
The one window that faced the backyard.
And is that the photograph that I showed you previously with the cigarette butts?
Yes.
Were those your cigarette butts?
Yes.
So how would you tell me how that would happen?
So he would, still touching his body and my body, would guide me kind of like a puppet, would move me over into that room, hovering over me. He'd let me sit down on the floor, and he would open that window, and I was able to lean while he is hovering over me the entire time and smoke.
Did you feel like you could run to the front door during this transition from your bedroom to the bedroom that he was going to allow you, from your bedroom to the room that you were going to smoke from?
No.
And was that the kids' playroom or the kids' bedroom?
Kids' playroom.
The master bedroom you had stated was in the back side of the house?
Correct.
And the kids' bedrooms and the playroom, were they on the same side of your home or the opposite?
They were on the opposite.
The opposite side from the master?
Correct.
Were the playroom and the kids' bedroom on the same side of the house?
Yes.
And which room was further towards the back? Was it the kids' bedroom or the playroom?
Playroom.
So you were in the window in the bedroom that was furthest to the backyard?
Correct.
Were you able to, scream out the window for help or anything like that?
No. He was again right there. So if I tried to scream, I didn't feel safe. But also, there's nobody that in that proximity from the backyard. You can't see the house behind. There's a large fence.
Did you, when you said it wouldn't be, I think you said safe, what do you mean by that?
I didn't feel safe with him hovering over me, that if I started to scream that then he would hurt me.
Okay. And you were afraid of being hurt?
Yes.
Okay. After you smoked a cigarette, what was the next thing that he did? Did he allow you to remain there in the children's playroom?
No, he guided me back into the master bedroom.
And when you say guided, was he holding on to you? Was he pushing you? What do you mean by that?
It's kind of like a parent would kind of, not like you're holding the child's hand, but if you were to be behind them and they're smaller and you are kind of pushing them in the way you want them to go.
Okay.
But still keeping your hands on them and guiding.
So you stated you weren't allowed to stay in the playroom. Where were you moved to?
Back to the master bedroom.
And what happened when you got back to the master bedroom?
He tied me for the second time.
How were you tied up this time?
This time was hog-tied.
When you say hog-tied, what do you mean by that?
I was laying on my stomach, and he used the rope that he had brought from his home.
When you say how did you know he brought that rope from
It was
his home?
not rope that was at my house, and
Okay.
he had pulled it from his pocket the first time he had tied me up.
Was this the same kind of rope that you had described that he had cocooned your body, had tied up?
Yes,
Okay. Did he use that same rope that you had been previously tied up with, or did he have more rope?
the same rope.
Did it match the rope that you saw in the drawer on his nightstand drawer from February 18th of 2017?
No.
And so, explain to me again, I'm sorry, when you say hog-tied, what do you mean by that?
I was lying on my stomach, and he tied my ankles up to my hands. So my hands were like this, and my ankles are that way as well.
So your hands are behind your back?
Yes.
And your ankles and your hands are tied together?
Yes.
And is it with the same kind of rope?
Yes.
Do you remember what color that was?
It was black.
And so were you laying on your stomach or on your side?
I was laying on my stomach.
And after, did he say anything to you why he was tying you this way, this particular time?
No.
What happened next after he tied you up?
He put duct tape over my mouth, and I started struggling because I was having problems breathing because I had some congestion, and I just couldn't breathe out of my nose. And so he removed the duct tape and told me that as long as I was quiet, he would not have to use the duct tape.
Had you been screaming when you were tied up prior, the first time?
No.
Okay, but he had still told you that if you are, you have to be quiet.
Yes.
Did you remain quiet?
Yes.
So you didn't have to have the tape on your face?
Correct.
Did he remain in the room when you were hog-tied?
Once I was tied up, he was in and out.
Same as he was before?
Correct.
Did you know what he was doing out there?
No.
Do you know how long you were hog-tied up for?
Overall, it was in that position, and I was hog-tied for a few hours.
Were there any conversations that took place, anything that he came in and discussed with you or did to you when you were in the hog-tied position?
Yes, as soon as he had, shortly after tying me into the hog-tied, he used my thumbprint to unlock my iPhone.
And was that how you typically unlocked your iPhone, was from your thumbprint?
Yes.
Do you know where your iPhone came from?
This is the first time that I'd seen it since it wasn't on my end table.
So does he walk in with your iPhone in his hand?
Yes.
And is he able to unlock your phone with the thumbprint?
Yes.
Do you ask him, what are you doing with my phone? Does he tell you what he's doing with your phone?
He told me that with the conversation about him going to the island, he was disappearing and all of this, and that I would be left, alone with the kids and everything that was his. And I said something along the lines is, nobody's going to believe any of this. And he said, I'm going to
When you said like that he was leaving everything to you and nobody's going to believe any of this, what do you mean by that?
I mean, he just disappears and we're in the middle of a divorce and I'm thinking, okay, first person they're going to look at, or that the fact that he came into my house and violated a domestic violence protection order, all of these different things that I'm right now hogtied. Like, nobody's going to believe any of this. And he said, I'm going to make a video for you.
And were you